Do you prefer to have one particular friend or a group of friends?
I prefer to have a group of friends, as opposed to having just one particular friend, since more friends usually mean more chances of getting help and advice when I would be in need of some. More friends also usually mean more fun and more sharing in order to make us happy in our lives.
What do you like doing most with your friends?
I like doing pretty much everything with my friends, depending on our moods and times, but I mostly like to hang out with my friends at a local coffee shop. I sometimes enjoy our lively conversations while enjoying some drinks like café da or cold coffee, and sharing some fun and exciting news among each other until we get tired. By the way, we Vietnamese are probably the most talkative people in the world.
Do you think it's important to keep in contact with friends you knew as a child?
Friendship to us Vietnamese is a lifelong thing, no matter where or when we made the friendship. So if we ever made some friends during our childhood, we would certainly try to keep in contact with them, because childhood friends are even more special, since this kind of friendship is usually born out of no expectation and no worldly gain.
What makes a friend into a good friend?
There is a saying that a friend in need is a friend indeed. A good friend will always be on our sides through thick and thin in order to support us in whichever capacity they can. A good friend will not only help us to move along in the right direction in life, but also prevent us from getting astray.
What are the typical choices people make at different stages of their lives?
Life is full of many choices that we have to make from time to time in order to keep going. When we are students, we decide whether to study at a school close by or far away from home. We also have to decide whether to go for general education or a more specialized field of education as students. When choosing a career, we also have to decide whether to go for a job or have businesses of our own in order to earn a living. When we become adult and ready to settle down in life, we also have to decide whether to marry early or late, depending on our personal circumstances. And we also make so many small and major decisions in different stages in our life that greatly influence our life.
Should important choices be made by parents rather than by young adults?
Important or less important, young adults should be able to make their own choices. Of course, they can seek advice from their parents and other persons in order to make informed decisions, but the ultimate choices should be made by the young adults themselves, since they will have to live on their own at some points of their lives. Once the young adults learn to make choices on their own, they will be able to prepare the plans for their lives better and execute them according to the demands of the situations. Besides, making important choices will also help young adults become more confident in their lives.
Why do some people like to discuss choices with other people?
People like to discuss their choices with other people primarily because they are not too sure about the choices they are about to make, and as such, they are seeking some good advice to help them make a good decision. In fact, having discussions with others will almost always open up the doors of new ideas and opportunities, since we all are different and we all have different ideas on how to face life. Then, of course, there is another group of people who like to discuss their choices with other people simply because they are just not confident enough to make any choices in their lives, even though the choices may be very obvious.
What kind of choices do people have to make in their everyday life?
People make different kinds of choices in their everyday life, from deciding what to wear for works to whether to eat vegetables or meat. Depending on how far we live from our works, we also have to make choices between whether to take a bus or metro subway in order to arrive at our workplaces. We may also need to make choices between how much money we should spend daily for buying our groceries and milk, and how much to buy in our favorite energy drinks when we are tight on our budget. Why do some people choose to do the same things every day? Are there any disadvantages in this? We as humans, we just never really like to get out of our comfort zone. As a result, when we get used to doing the same things every day, we just don't like to try anything else new simply because we fear in our minds that they may pose a different kind of challenges in our daily lives. But the problem, or disadvantages of such crippling thoughts, are that trying new things may actually improve our living standards in many ways. Besides, trying new things may also make our lives more fun by easing unnecessary pressures on us. Do you think that people today have more choices to make in the present than in the past? Yes, I do think that people have far more choices to make in the present days than in the past, primarily because our lives have become more complicated and our expectations from life have increased in many folds. As a result, we are not exactly content with simple choices of life, such as going to work and spending time with families, but other choices like whether we need to buy an iPhone, iPad, or smartphone become a headache these days, while in the past we could simply visit a friend and spend some quality time with him or her.
How do you usually contact your friends?
I usually contact my friends over the phones by having a voice chat. I prefer this contact method over the others, mainly because talking over the phones makes it more personal and engaging, where I can express my emotions much more easily.
Do you prefer to contact different people in different ways?
No, I don't necessarily contact different people in a predefined sort of different ways, mainly because I don't know for sure what methods of contact are more appropriate based on the time, circumstances, and location of both me and the other people at the other end.
Do you find it easy to keep in contact with friends and family?
Yes, I certainly find it easy to keep in contact with my friends and family, mainly because I can rely on more than just one mode of communication. If my phone is not working, I can always send email messages to them. But even if my emails are not functioning properly, I could always leave an online or offline message on different chat apps and messages.
In your country, did people in the past keep in contact in the same ways as they do today?
No, people in Brazil didn't used to contact others in the same ways as they do today. In the past, we used to rely heavily on the postal mails and land telephones, but only sometimes, to contact with others if they were far away from us. Sometimes we even used telegraphs for urgent contact. But today, we use mostly mobile or cell phones and the internet to contact others, whether they live close by or far away from us.
What are the main reasons why people organize family parties in your country?
We Brazilian people just love to celebrate and have fun, whether we are having a private family party or any other public festivals. Anyway, some of the family parties which we organize in our country are birthday parties, wedding parties, Christmas parties, and pregnancy craving parties. While all of these family parties are celebrated by following the normal Western and Christian traditions, pregnancy craving parties are a little unique in Brazil, where it is a tradition to give a small treat, along with a picture of the new baby, to people or family who come to visit when a baby is born.
In some places, people spend a lot of money on parties that celebrate special family events. Is this ever true in your country? Do you think this is a good trend or a bad trend?
Like some other places in the world, unfortunately, Brazilian people also spend a lot of money on family parties. In fact, Brazilian wedding parties can easily be considered as some of the most expensive and extravagant in the world. But I don't really think that this is such a good trend, since the extra money which people spend in celebrating these parties could actually be used by the newly wedded couple in order to give them a good start in their new life. Besides, spending more money than needed is like a waste of money to me, which could always be used to help out poor people.
Are there many differences between family parties and parties given by friends? Why do you think this is?
No, I don't really think that there are many differences between family parties and parties given by friends, primarily because both kinds are aimed at providing fun and happiness to the participants of the parties. Besides, whatever we do in those parties in order to have a good time are pretty much the same. But of course, it all depends on what kind of people attends the parties. However, family parties can be little lesser messy and more solemn than the parties thrown by friends.
What kinds of national celebration do you have in your country?
Brazil is well known for many of its festivals and national celebrations. In fact, no matter what time of year tourists visit our country, they are sure to notice the friendly ambiance and merry characteristics of the Brazilian locals. Anyway, some of our national celebrations are New Year's Day, Good Friday and Easter Sunday in March or April, Labor Day, Christmas, and National Carnival. While most of these celebrations are celebrated just like the rest of the Western and Christian world, Carnival is the one which is pretty unique to Brazil.
Who tends to enjoy national celebrations more, young people or old people? Why?
While celebrations are just celebrations, the reality is some of the national celebrations are enjoyed more by the young, while some are enjoyed more by the old. Usually, old people, perhaps because of their maturity, tend to enjoy those celebrations more which have religious fervor and tone and which are solemn in nature. On the other hand, celebrations to young people usually are all about having fun and a good time without any holding back. Therefore, it is only natural that the young people would prefer celebrations which would allow them to dance, sing, and drink to the full content of their hearts.
Why do you think some people think that national celebrations are a waste of government money? Would you agree or disagree with this view? Why?
I would respectfully like to disagree with those people who tend to think that national celebrations are a waste of government money, mainly because national celebrations bring unity and solidarity among the citizens of a country, more often than not. Besides, national celebrations, or any other kind of celebrations for that matter, get the entire nation into a happy mood, which is certainly good for the mental health and spirit of all the people. And the more spirited and happy a nation is, the more will it prosper in the national and international arena.
How do most people travel to work where you live?
Transportation in Iran is easy and accessible from almost every point, since Iran has a long paved road system linking most of its towns and all of its cities. Anyway, where I live in Tehran, the capital city of Iran, most people travel to work by buses. However, a great many people travel to works by using the metro or the Tehran subway system as well.
What traffic problems are there in your area?
Even though Iran has a long paved road system linking most of its towns and cities, the problem is that there isn't just enough public transportation in the streets. As a result, a city like Tehran, with almost 14 million populations, suffers from bad traffic congestions pretty much all the times, but worse during the morning peak hours as many people use their automobiles.
How do traffic problems affect you?
Because of the really bad traffic situation in Tehran, I usually face a tough time in managing my time, since I don't know for sure how long it will take to go to my work or come back from there. Besides, because of spending long hours in the city traffic congestion most of the days, my social life has also been somewhat affected, since I don't get enough time to spend with my friends and cousins.
How would you reduce the traffic problems in your area?
I would recommend updating and enhancing the existing roads and the introduction of a more robust metro rail system in the country. Besides, I will improve the public transportations so that people are discouraged to use their private cars, which is one of the main contributors to the unbearable traffic congestion in my city.
How have games changed from the time when you were a child?
Games have changed a lot from the time when I was a child. For example, there were very few or no computer, online or video games during the days of my early childhood. Nor there were many interesting game toys or puzzles to encourage children to play indoors as we have today, with which we could play any games. In fact, during my childhood, the only way we could play any sports was to hit the outdoors. But these days, more and more children are choosing to play their games inside their own homes.
Do you think this has been a positive change? Why?
No, I wouldn't really like to think that these kinds of changes affect children that positively. Children these days don't become encouraged to go outside of their homes and become physically active, which is absolutely important for children's physical and cognitive growth. Besides, children are not getting enough chances to socialize with their friends and peers, and as a result, not developing many good social and communication skills that are necessary to succeed in their lives as adults. Of course, by playing some of these online or video games, children do develop their intelligence, but they also make children violent and aggressive at the same time.
Why do you think children like playing games?
Children just like to play, whether they are playing a certain sport alone or playing with their peers, primarily because it is just their nature to be playful as long as they remain young. But if we want to be more precise, I would say that the children like playing games because they love challenges, and they learn new things as well as new skills by playing different kinds of games. But above all, children have a lot of fun when playing any sports, and the studies show that there is no better way to teach children than having them play games which they really enjoy.
Do you think competitive games are good or bad for children? In what ways?
In my opinion, competitive games, depending on, of course, what kinds of competitive games they play, are good in general, because they teach children how to become tough, careful, intelligent, and positive when facing any difficult situation in life. Besides, playing competitive games usually help us identify what kinds of particular skill sets, talents, or potentials the children have, so that they can work even more on them in order to improve themselves even further. However, we will have to make sure that playing competitive games doesn't make children competitive so much so that they develop jealousy and hatred for their opponents.
How can games sometimes help to unite people?
Games do sometimes help unite people from different countries and backgrounds in some common causes, such as when playing any game to raise funds in order to help some people during their time of distress. Even the little drinks that we enjoy after finishing a game help us share some laughs and funs among each other, no matter how different we are from each other. Besides, when playing any sports by inviting and bringing different kinds of people together, we usually develop a kind of social bond and friendly relations with each other that may prove out to be vital for the unity and benefits of our society as a whole.
Why is competition often seen as important in today's society?
We are living in a materialistic and capitalistic society where everybody is competing fiercely with each other in order to get his or her fair share of the world. And that's exactly why our world is moving forward. In fact, as a result of this competition, we come up with better ideas, better products and services which help improve our living standards even more. It is the competition which helps us hope to have even a better future for our children in this world. So no wonder competition is seen as important in today's society.
Which instrument do you like listening to most?
I like listening to the tune of the guitar the most, primarily because this versatile musical instrument is able to play any kind of my favorite songs at very ease. Besides, listening to the guitar helps me to get in a positive frame of mind when I feel a little depressed.
Have you ever learned to play a musical instrument?
I learned to play the guitar as a high school student almost 10 years ago, and I became reasonably good at playing it. I even played this great musical instrument in subsequent years at some parties with my friends. But as I got older and became busy with other priorities in life, I now pay it only once in a blue moon.
Do you think children should learn to play a musical instrument at school?
Children should learn to play a musical instrument because it would help children develop math skills, quick thinking, and creativity. In fact, understanding the relationship between different musical notes and chords is pure math. Besides, it would actually help bring out the musical talents hidden in children and turn them into some very famous and world-class musicians in future.
How easy would it be to learn to play an instrument without a teacher?
I personally think that without the guidance and supervision of a mentor, learning a musical instrument and being good at it is pretty impossible. This is primarily because the teacher can always correct us when we do something wrong and can motivate us to a great extent. Without the guidance of a master, we might even lose our inspiration to continue learning.
What do most people do to keep fit in your country?
Most people in Germany try to remain fit by exercising at local gyms, walking in parks, and swimming in the pool. Besides, it's the very lifestyles of most people in Germany which help them to remain fit. In fact, walking and cycling in my country to get around are very common, with footpaths and cycle routes, more than 46,000 miles of cycle routes, all over the country, making it really easy to travel between towns without a car. On top of that, most people in Germany are health conscious, and as a result, they're very particular about their food and diets they choose to eat on a regular basis.
How important is it for people to do some regular physical exercise?
In my opinion, it is absolutely important for people to do some regular physical exercise in order to remain physically fit and healthy. Physical activity or exercise can improve our health and reduce the risk of developing several diseases like type 2 diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular diseases. In fact, a minimum of 30 minutes of regular activity can improve our quality of life by helping us manage our weight better as well as having stronger bones, muscles, and joints. Besides, regular exercise will make us feel better with more energy, better mood, and better sleep.
Why do so many people these days suffer from stress-related issues?
Even a few decades ago, very few people knew about stress the way we do today, and the reasons behind this are rather simple. Before a few decades, our family relationships and community ties were relatively stronger. Besides, back then, we were not exactly so much focused on goals such as money, fame, and self-image. Finally, our expectations are probably just too high in our lives these days, as opposed to a few decades ago, because we think that life is too short and we will have to get everything right here and right now.
Why do some people think that modern lifestyles are not healthy?
Many of us, rather than just some of us in my country, think that modern lifestyles are not healthy because we have compromised quality over quantity in a massive way. In our modern world today, we see no problem in sitting in front of our TV and computer for hours for no obvious benefits and/or reasons, and yet we suddenly feel very busy to walk to a local store just for 10 minutes. We spend tons of money every day eating junk food with almost no or very limited nutritional value, and yet we suddenly become very economic when it comes to buying some fresh fruits and vegetables. So yes, modern lifestyles may have given us a lot of things, but health, be it physical or mental, is probably not one of them.
Why do some people choose to lead unhealthy lives?
Some people choose to lead unhealthy lives either because they don't understand the value of living a healthy life, or they are just too lazy and arrogant to get out of their comfort zone in order to find out how leading unhealthy lives will affect their health and minds in the long run. Besides, some people, because of being unhappy with nothing to look forward to in life, also choose to lead unhealthy lives. Then finally, there's another group of people who choose to lead unhealthy lives because they are just brought up that way, and they consider that leading unhealthy lives actually makes them look cool to others.
Should individuals or governments be responsible for making people's lifestyle healthy?
What kind of lifestyles people should choose in order to remain healthy should be a personal and individual responsibility. What a person should eat and drink, and when a person should sleep every day, or how long a person should exercise every day, should be entirely up to the person involved. If a person doesn't understand what it takes to live a healthy lifestyle, the government can't really do much about it except raising a certain level of awareness among its citizens about the benefits of living a healthy life, as well as the harms of living an unhealthy one. However, the government can run some campaigns and advertisements to aware people of the importance of a salubrious lifestyle and can build more parks, sports centers, and medical checkup points to help people lead a better life.
What could be done to encourage people to live in a healthy way?
The best way to encourage people to live in a healthy way is to teach them from a very early age, both at home and school, about the benefits of living a healthy life. Some kind of incentives and rewards, such as tax breaks or certification, can also be arranged for the healthy families in all communities, so that the people there really feel pumped up and compete with each other in order to become healthier than others. Finally, at least one sports center and one park/garden can be provided in close proximity to each community, so that people there can go to those places and spend some time working out and sweating a little every day.
Do you enjoy dancing?
Unfortunately, I don't really enjoy dancing, mainly because I have never really been good at it. Besides, I was never really interested to learn dancing either. But most importantly, I have always felt that dancing is such a domain which should be dominated and ruled by those who really enjoy this art.
Has anyone ever taught you to dance?
Actually, nobody has ever taught me how to dance, simply because I was never really interested in learning to dance. Besides, learning Japanese traditional dancing is not really that easy, since they usually require a strong back and strong legs, neither of which I possess, to perform, in my opinion.
Tell me about any traditional dancing in your country.
Most Japanese traditional or folk dancing is related to food-producing activities, such as planting rice and fishing. One such traditional dance, neither slow nor fast, is called no-mai,
which is done to the tune of music made by flutes and small hand drums. A woman usually performs this dance.
Do you think that traditional dancing will be popular in the future?
Yes, I do think that traditional dancing will be popular in the future, since more and more people all over the world are becoming interested to learn about their national heritage in order to revive some of their old traditions and cultural aspects as a symbol of their national pride.
In what ways can people in a family be similar to each other?
Similarities among family members are a common phenomenon in pretty much every family. While these similarities can be evident in many physical features, including eyelashes, eyebrows, hair, nails, and physical builds, they are more noticeable in facial features such as nose, eyes, and the shapes of the faces. People can be also similar in their behavioral patterns, such as tempers and other human emotions, and talents when they belong to the same family tree. Even some medical conditions like blood pressure and diabetes can be carried on to the gene structures of people as well, if they belong to the same family tree.
Do you think that daughters are always more similar to mothers than to male relatives? What about sons and fathers?
No, I don't really like to subscribe to the conventional thoughts which suggest that daughters are always more similar to mothers than to male relatives. Nor do I think that fathers and sons are more alike. If contrary to what I just told holds true, we wouldn't exactly be able to see sisters in a family look and behave differently from each other, just as brothers in the same family who are completely different from each other. In fact, children can look like either parent or other relatives in their family tree. Many children can even look completely different from any of the existing family members.
In terms of personality, are people more influenced by their family or by their friends? In what ways?
In my opinion, people generally are more influenced by their families than friends, primarily because a family is where a person spends most of his or her time, especially when growing up as a child. And whatever people learn from their families as children remain with them one way or another for the rest of their lives. As a primary caregiver to children, it is the family who teaches children how to talk and how to behave with others. Sometimes, children just naturally tend to pick up the behavioral patterns and personality traits such as talking, humoring, and criticizing of their family members just by watching them from up close.
Where can people in your country get information about genetic research?
Japan started its human genome research in 1989 to lead the International Human Genome Project, an initiative taken by the National Human Genome Research Institute, NHGRI, in order to uncover the role of the human gene in human health and diseases. So, apart from NHGRI, people can also get genetic research-related information from the National Institute of Genetics in Mishima, Shizuoka, in my country. Besides, some leading universities in Japan, like the University of Tokyo, Kyoto University, and Osaka University, can also help people with genetic research-related information.
How do people in your country feel about genetic research?
People in our Japanese society in general are very much in favor of scientific and technological advancements, and as a result, when we see that DNA home testing is gaining popularity since more and more people seeking answers to their risk of diseases, we Japanese are not really that surprised. However, we are also in favor of following scientific ethics at the same time, and that's exactly why our government has strictly forbidden any kind of genetic editing in fertilized human eggs in order to give childbirth.
Should this research be funded by governments or private companies? Why?
I like to think that genetic research, or any other research for that matter, should be run and funded by the governments only, mainly because the governments will be able to have better oversight and control of the research programs than private companies. Besides, if private companies are allowed to fund such types of researches, they will most likely abuse the research findings by doing something totally unethical for the profiteering purposes, just as it has happened on many occasions in the past with other research programs. Cricket isn't exactly a popular sport in China, at least not popular in the part of China where I live. So, About a few months ago, when my Indian friend and coworker asked me to join them in a friendly cricket match, I was a bit skeptical, to say the least. Not because I didn't enjoy the game, but because I thought that the game was a bit too difficult for me to learn. Nevertheless, I agreed to join since my Indian friend promised to train me well before the start of the match. So, my training started at a local football park since we didn't exactly have any cricket field in China. By the way, my friend had asked me earlier, before the training started, if I would prefer throwing a ball to someone or hitting a ball out of the park with a bat. Without thinking much, I said that I would rather like to hit the ball out of the park. So my friend declared me a batsman. Anyway, my friend tried his best to teach me how to hit the ball with my bat, and once the training was over, I was told by my Indian friend that I would play in his team as a batsman. Anyway, being a part of a cricket team was really a new experience for me, primarily because I never really played that sport before. It was also exciting for me because in the process of learning the game, I actually did manage to hit a few balls out of the park by hitting them with my bat, which I thought wasn't possible. Besides, I also realized that cricket was not only about hitting the balls as hard as one could, but one also would need to make a lot of smart calculations and moves before trying to hit the ball in order to avoid getting caught or out by the opponent team. It was also exciting for me because I finally realized cricket wasn't really a very difficult sport to learn and play.